afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you live from KSCO. What a great day, Memorial Weekend. So happy to be here talking to y'all. And the theme of the day is, are you feeling human? Sometimes we feel superhuman, other times we feel subhuman. Sometimes we just feel human. So I'm hoping y'all are doing well and enjoying the weekend. It's going to be a nice time to really reflect on those that have helped make this country what it is, giving their life for us, for all of the different things that we've been involved in throughout the years, all the way back to 1776 and before. And, I just really believe that we are very, very lucky to have this country and to be living in a country that is free. There's a lot of countries out there that don't have the technology and the freedom of motion and freedom of speech and religion. And, now that all seems to be coming under scrutiny. And be that as it may, we still have an amazing country. And I think it's the most amazing country in the world, the United States. Um, so I'm really wanting to just talk about health today, my health. Ended up injuring myself again, which is always humbling. And whenever I do, I believe it happens for a reason because then I remember what pain is like and how limiting it is and how much it affects your desire to do things. It kind of freezes you. It stops you in your tracks and it makes you not want to get up and go. Your get up and goes got up and went, so to speak. So, I injured my low back again. Most of you know that I broke it when I was 12, wasn't diagnosed till 20. And I've got a pretty gnarly looking spine down there. But due to chiropractic for the last 50 years, I started when I was 20, I'm now 70, I've kept it in really good shape for the most part. But, being a stupid boy, I out there try to go out there and try to do things beyond the strength of my body as it is in my 70s now. You think that you can do things in your 70s that you did in your 60s and your 50s, your 50s and your 40s, 40s and your 30s, and so on and so such. However, we just don't have the physiology to allow it, especially if you have injuries, because injuries create scar tissue, and scar tissue is not as strong as the original equipment. And you can re-injure that scar tissue a lot easier. I don't know how many of you all out there have pulled taffy as a kid. I think most of us over 50 have, where grandma would boil a bunch of sugar and water and make a thick syrup out of it. And then at one point, you would start to pull it yourself. And the more you pulled that taffy, and you might have seen it at the boardwalk too, the more you pull it, the harder it gets to pull. And pretty soon you can't pull it at all. And that's called tensile strength. We learned about it in physics, what we were doing as a kid pulling taffy, but that becomes very strong in the degree that you are putting strain or stress on it. Now you can snap that in half really easily because there is no tensile strength when you break it in half. Muscles, ligaments, tendons are all based on the same um, physiology as the strength of taffy. The more as your body develops, muscles expand and contract along certain lines of stress. Ligaments, as well, are holding bones together based on certain lines of action. Tendons attach muscles to bone along certain lines. And if you ever looked at some like a cut of meat, you are familiar with the fact that those strands go in a certain way. They go in the way the muscle would contract or expand. So your muscles do the same thing. Scar tissue disrupts that and it looks mishmashed. Kind of like if you were to ever see cotton or candy, rock candy. Rock candy is a bunch of crystals that form in just odd and various gyrations. You can break that rock candy wherever you want. it doesn't have the tensile strength that taffy does. So when you injure yourself, and this could be organs as well as muscles, ligaments, and tendons, skin as well, then you have a very unelastic scar because it doesn't have that elasticity that you would normally have. And this causes you to injure the thing more and more and more. So think of yourself or somebody that has sprained an ankle once, and then they sprain it again, then a couple years later again, and now it becomes a chronically weak body part. Those ligaments have healed in such disarray that there is no correct ability to get the what we would call the physiological motion, what would be normal between those joints. And there's 26 bones in your feet. So in both feet, you have 52 bones. You only have 206 bones in your body. So 25% of the bones are in your feet. Now, the more you injure that, the worse that scar tissue gets. And it looks just like dense random pixie sticks, like a pickup sticks. If you've dumped a bunch of pickup sticks on the ground and they're all crisscross over, that's kind of what a scar will look like. Or if you take your fingers and you put them perpendicular to each other, you can see that they're not going the same way. And you move one hand over the other. There's random motion. That's very weak. Now, we have a machine in our office that can help re-establish the correct line of drive or the correct line of those ligaments and tendons and muscles to get more flexibility in there. Also, it will increase blood flow because it creates new capillaries and it pushes out this toxic fluid that actually causes pain. And maybe you've heard of it. You've probably listened to me talk about it. It's called a SoftWave or a hydrowave or a stem cell machine. The whole philosophy of all of this stuff is that it helps draw your own stem cells to the area. Now, we've gone a step further, which I don't know anybody else is doing this. So we have class 2 lasers that we put on top of this amazing sound machine. So we're using light on top of the sound machine. We have lasers in 3 colors, red, violet, and green. And if you look this up online, you'll find out that these 3 different color lasers, when run over a body part, turn on and ignite or supercharge something called the mitochondria. So if you've been listening to anything online about health, I'm sure you've heard about the mitochondria. Everything starts in the mitochondria. Cancer starts with the mitochondria. Many different types of autoimmune diseases cause or start with a dysfunctioning mitochondria. So not only do we use the SoftWave therapy machine to build up and draw in your own stem cells to reestablish and reformulate that torn or discombobulated ligament, tendon, or muscle, we also put the laser on it, which I don't know anybody else in town that's doing it. So, and we're charging $49 for a sample to see if it helps you. This is such new technology that it's, I got my first machine in 2019, and now there are knockoffs, a lot of knockoffs around, and you see it. I'm sure you see it. The original one was created off of what's called a lithotripsy machine. Lithotripsy is how you break up kidney stones. They do that with sound. Lithotripsy. Litho means bone or rock, and tripsy means break. So lithotripsy literally means break up the rock. And when you have a kidney stone, they would use this focused sound beam, and it would go in there and blow up the rock. Pretty cool. And so back in the early teens, or I'm not sure exactly when, they started using this on racehorses that had damage to their legs and different types of joints. And they found out that the horses were getting the competitive edge. So it got to the point where they could not do this treatment on a horse. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks before a race because it was an unfair advantage. So now we have an unfair advantage in that we can use this on humans. And we've had ours for 7 years now. First one in Northern California to have one. Now, I've also, just so you know, I have two of them. I've got the a later version of, so we still have the original lithotripsy machine or the SoftWave therapy, but I've also got a newer model called the HydroWave. And this thing is really cool because it's focused. It's a focused wave versus a broad wave, which the other one is. This may not mean much to you. However, we can get deeper into the tissue like hips and knees and shoulders with the HydroWave, with the new one, because a stronger beam and it shoots in deeper. Think of a flashlight that's a broad beam that will show up, light up half of the room. When you focus it in, you get more like a microdot, and that would be the newer machine that we have. So we use both of them based on what your issue is. So you have, when you come in and do a consultation with us, which I never charge for a consultation, just to see whether we can help you, then we'll decide which one of these two, at me, based on doing thousands and thousands of these, probably over 20,000 of these treatments in the last however many years, 7 years I've had them. And now that we've added the laser in 2024, we added the laser. And the laser, it's a very, very expensive piece of equipment because it's a very high beam, high intensity laser. There's three colors. There's the red, the violet, and the green. And if you know anything about biochemistry, which you don't need to, but when the laser hits the skin and penetrates the cell, it turns on or supercharges what's called the mitochondria. The mitochondria is the carburetor of the cell, and you have millions of these mitochondria in your cell. So just imagine supercharging the mitochondria in your body. It's going to supercharge your body's ability to heal. Remember, weak cells can't heal. Tired cells can't heal. Tired bodies can't heal. So one of the things that we want to do is increase the energy in the body and in your cells at a cellular level so that your body can heal better. The body's got this amazing ability to heal. It doesn't need all of this other stuff. It just needs no interference. So, we now know that if you listen to RFK at all, you see him, he's talking about the 10,000 ingredients that the FDA and CDC has allowed us to add, the companies to add to our food, 10,000 different things. None of them are tested for safety, maybe 300 of them tested for safety and how they react with each other. Europe only allows 400 of them, and we allow 10,000 of them. So that ought to tell you something. Why are we the sickest country in the world? Well, they've put so much junk into our food that it is systematically killing us, making us sick. Now, a lot of times people come in and they go, "Well, I'm eating as close to organic as I can now." That's awesome. The only issue that I have with that is, let's say you're 40, 50, 60 years old. For the past 40, 50, 60 years, you've laid the foundation of an unhealthy body. Just starting to eat right doesn't mean that it's going to correct what's deep in your cells and deep in the body. If you've been grew up with Crisco oil, which I did, my grandma made incredible pies with Crisco, safflower oil, cottonseed oil, um, well, that's all these different things. Canola oil, which is still in our foods. And you need to look up how they make canola oil. Just Google it. I think you'll never have it again. And these oils create very unhealthy cells in our body. They create very toxic cell walls that can't recognize insulin, so you become diabetic. It can't recognize hormones, so you become hormone deficient, have all these different hormone problems because they're trying to attach to the cells, but the cell walls are so crusty with these bad oils that they can't absorb it. So we get tired. Hormones don't work. Our adrenal glands producing adrenaline or epinephrine, that stuff can't work on our cells enough. So we still feel tired, even though our cells, our adrenal glands are working overtime to try to handle the stress in our life. Since our body and our cells can't absorb that stuff, it flows around in our body and creates more and more problem. The cortisol, cortisol, chronic cortisol from the cortex of the adrenal gland, the adrenal cortex, thus named cortisol. It causes inflammation in the body. It's great for a short term. That's what it's there for a short-term boost in energy to handle the tiger, lion, bear, car accident, emergency in your life. But then it's supposed to go away, but it doesn't. So with these toxic foods that we've eaten for so long, our organs are basically not efficient. And then our liver, which is the number one detoxifying organ in our body, has been trying to eliminate this stuff for so long, it gets plugged, just like the oil filter in your car or uh, the filter in your heater in your house, the air filter, and or a sponge that you've been wiping up the counter with, and you keep wiping and the counter gets dirtier and dirtier. It's because you need to wring out the sponge, or you need to change the oil filter or the air filter in your house. So our body has no longer has the ability to do that efficiently. Now there's several factors to that. And I'll leave the most important one to last. And I think you'll understand this when we get to it. But the main thing is to realize we got to, number one, stop putting the stuff in our body that got us where we are, or start to slow it down. You know, there's different ways to do it. You could get my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, on Amazon, either the paper version or the digital version if you prefer. Turn Back Your Biological Clock. And that's going to give you an outline on how to slowly eliminate the bad foods and even go further into determining what areas of your body need help so you can go towards that. With all the different systems in our body, the nervous system is the most important. It controls everything. You have a skeletal system, bones, muscles, the musculoskeletal system. They don't work without a nerve telling the muscle what to do. You have a digestive system, another very important system, from the mouth to the throat to the stomach, small intestine, large intestine, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, all that stuff. They can't do a thing without a nervous system telling them what to do. And it needs to be working as close to 100% as possible. Respiratory system, your breathing, which brings in oxygen and expels carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide and all the other bad gases that your body's making in the process of living. So if you don't have good nervous system going to your lungs, you're not going to work. So you notice that I don't say you need to have a good lung to make your kidneys work. You don't need a good kidney to make your liver work. Well, you kind of do. But the senior system is always the nervous system. The circulatory system, your heart, that's not going to work. It's not going to pump without an electrical signal telling the heart to go lub dub. So the nervous system is the electrical system for that. Um, all of the different systems, our immune system can't recognize anything bad unless it can be communicated to the brain via the nervous system. So every time we're looking at this, the senior system is the nervous system. Yet we've never been taught to take care of it, ever. In school, we never did. In fact, by the time I got out of school, not that I was a very good student, I couldn't read till I was 28, but I still listened. I didn't even know that the nerves were hardwired. It's like the wires in your wall, except for they go to all 75 trillion cells, telling them what to do. So they tell the cells what to do. You take a nerve away from the cell doesn't have ability to stay functioning. So it's so important that we keep that moving in the right direction. So, you want to change the way you're eating so that your liver can get unplugged. But you know what? Most of us, 95% of us, have some degree of what we call leaky gut or intestinal permeability. That's from all those toxins over the years, including antibiotics, glyphosate, the medications that we've taken, all of the medications that we may be on, the antibiotics, the pesticides and herbicides that are on the food we eat, all of that stuff. Remember, the human race is the only species on the planet that puts poison on our food to keep other species from eating our food. And then what do? We eat the food we poisoned. And you wonder why we're sick. Now, funny thing about being sick is it's kind of like driving down the freeway and seeing a car accident. we all slow down and we look at the car accident and we have a blank look on our face. Most of us don't even think, gosh, I hope they're okay, or what idiot did that, or gosh, it was too bad it was too wet, or God, I'm glad that didn't happen to me. We just drive by. And that's the same way we look at our health until we don't have it anymore. So there's an old saying, don't worry about your health, it'll go away. And it will. Not that I want you to worry, but I want you to be smart about your health. So that's why I would recommend you take advantage of our Memorial Day special. Now, we put something in the good times this last Wednesday. They're still floating around, but we have three specials in there. You can come into the office for $37 and get a complete digital x-ray of your spine from head to toe or head to pelvis and a reading of it. That's a 2-day process. You come in, I sit down and talk with you, make sure that it even makes sense to do it. If it doesn't, there's no charge to talk to me. We take a full set of digital x-rays. I study those. Usually one of the other doctors looks at them with me. Then we would have you come back another day and go, hey, this is what we found. This is what's going on. This is good. This isn't so good. I would take care of this sooner than later. This is why you're having these symptoms, whatever the case may be. And that's a 2-day process for $37. It doesn't involve any treatment. For 37 bucks, the x-rays are a steal because they're normally 300 just for the x-ray. Consultation would be 99, but that's no charge. So 37 bucks, you can come in and get a good idea what's going on with your spine. Then we also have another special, and I've put together a few because I want people to try to be healthy, and that is to actually try the SoftWave therapy or the hydrowave, those two sound machines that go in, bring your own stem cells to the area we apply it, and it can help those areas heal. It can take away pain, increase range of motion, take down inflammation, help heal scar tissue, normalize joint motion. And so those are bringing your own stem cells there. Now, if you don't know what a stem cell is, it's very simple. Anybody under 18, plug your ears. A stem cell occurs when an egg and sperm come together. That's the first cell. That's one cell. And from that one cell, your body has split up to 75 trillion cells, all different. And that one stem cell has all of the DNA and all the genetic information to become every part of a body. So you still have copies of that original cell floating around in your body. And when one of those stem cells lands on an elbow, it might become a bone, ligament, tendon, or muscle or blood vessel there. When it lands in a kidney, it might become a kidney cell. Lands in the liver, it could become a liver cell. Nerve cell. Nerves, so many people are having problems with their nerves. They're the nerves outside of their spine. Just like outside of your house, you have the periphery of your house. Inside your house, you have the center of your house. So we call that the central nervous system. Outside of the spine is the peripheral nervous system. 31 nerves on, so pairs, 31 pairs of nerves go to 75 trillion cells. And when those nerves get damaged from chemicals, from drugs, from injury, pesticides, herbicides, dis-ease, so many different things, then those nerves start to break down and they start to lose their ability to communicate with the brain. Usually starts at the end. We call it the distal end, the farthest part away from the brain. So those would be your toes or your fingers. And it can be a very gradual thing where you don't notice that your feet are numb or that you're not uh, feeling when you're standing on a coal at the campfire at the beach, or perhaps you're not sure if your foot's on the gas pedal or the brake. I hear this. People come in and go, I'm scared to drive. I don't know where my foot is. I have to consciously think about it. And I always say, let me know when you're leaving. I want to leave before you. That's a joke, but not really, because there's a lot of people out there that don't have the senses in their feet connected to their brain to be driving. Now, the good news is that we've helped almost, I'd say 99% of the people that come in with these type of conditions, we were able to help. So, and oftentimes they're coming in at 70, 80%, even 90% loss of nerve function. And we do testing there that you can find out. You're the one giving us the feedback. And we see that reverse, even in the extreme cases. And I can't say we'll ever be 100%. We've seen it that a couple times, but every body's different. Compliance is different. The damage done is different. Um, Everybody's circumstances are different. People that have been exposed to harsh chemicals like mechanics or people that work in the industrial segment and the fields, agriculture, are often exposed to a lot more toxins than those that are not. So it's really important that we try to figure out what you might be exposed to so we can do something about that. So I'm going to take a short break here. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and my office is McCollum Family Chiropractic. And, I'm really hoping that you all are able to enjoy my show a little bit. And I'm just changing something on my Facebook here because I realized I was talking to myself. So we're going to start this again. Go live. There we go. All right. So end of break, you can get a hold of me at McCollum Family Chiropractic, 459-9990, or info at McCollum Family Chiropractic. Give us a call and say, hey, look, I want to take advantage of the $37 special, which is a complete set of digital x-rays, consultation, and a second day report of findings where I go over all my findings with you. If you have chronic pain or new pain, oftentimes new pain is the condition that's been there for a long time. Just like anybody that ever had a toothache, that toothache um, that cavity didn't grow in a second and give you a toothache. It could be years in the making. So it's so important that we find out what's going on in your spine now for your future. Because, I was started the show saying I'm feeling human today because I injured my back again. Now, I'm 70 years old. I broke my back, what was it, 62 years ago, and falling out of a tree. And I didn't even get it diagnosed till 50 years ago when I was 20. And I'd been suffering for years, and every once in a while I have a flare up because I do something human, like I did the other day. And, then you just suffer the consequences. I learned my lesson. It's good for me, quite honestly, to have episodes like this because then I remember that pain is debilitating. Pain takes your desire away. It encompasses your every move. It stops you from wanting to enjoy your life, go do things. And then if you medicate yourself with it, that's going to affect your ability to do things as well. Anything from aspirin to Tylenol to gabapentin and worse, these medications, they're deadening you and they're actually causing the problem to be worse. Now, if you're on any prescription drugs, you talk to your doctor before you change any of those. But, if you've been on any of this stuff for any period of time, you might be told that your condition is, there's no way to change it, which may or may not be true. I'll tell you, the body's amazing. Every time I pull a weed out of my driveway, that same weed grows back, and I don't know how that works. Life works, it grows. I had a patient that I was treating for years for low back pain, and we got his low back handled, and we were on a maintenance program with him. Somewhere along the line, his wife came in and we were talking, and she would come in almost every visit. Finally, I said, well, why don't we check your spine? She goes, oh, no, 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 we can't check my spine. I go, why not? She goes, well, I have a neck problem. And I go, wow, well, that's something we can help with. She goes, no, no, you don't understand. I'm going to a certain doctor that is doing something called ablation on my neck. And that ablation means to burn the nerve so she doesn't have any pain. So she burns the nerve, basically trying to kill it so that the pain goes away. They burn a certain part of the nerve, that's the pain part. And I go, wow, really? How long have you been doing that? She goes, well, I have to go in every 6 months. And I looked at her and I go, well, why do you have to go in every 6 months? I knew the answer. Why do you have to go in every 6 months? She goes, well, because the nerve grows back. I go, isn't that incredible? Your body is trying to, it's going to grow. The nerves will grow back. Spine, peripheral nerves can grow a millimeter a day. That's quite a bit if we do enough of the right stuff faster than the wrong stuff. So I finally convinced her to let me take an x-ray of her because she was still suffering from neck pain and decreased range of motion. And I found that it was the lower neck, I think the vertebra 6 and 7 that were not moving, and the disc was wearing out, called arthritis or degenerative disc disease or spondylosis. And I talked to her about it. I said, look, let's go ahead and see what happens if we adjust it. Worst thing that can happen is you have to go get ablation again in 3 months because she just had it and the problem was already coming back. And she goes, okay, I'm game. So we did, and she never had to get ablation again. We actually got the pressure off the nerve. We moved the bone, the two bones that were stuck that were encasing the nerve. So it's like if you have your finger in a car door and you slam it, and you just keep taking drugs or shooting it up with cortisone or burning the nerve or cutting it off, you're not solving anything. You're treating a symptom. And chiropractic is the only real profession that works on that number one most important system in your body called the nervous system. We check it, all 31 spinal nerves that exit the spine, and make sure that they're working at 100%. It's like having a fire and you go and turn on the water and there's no water there. That sounds familiar, right? So when your nerves when you need your nervous system, it needs to function. And out of those 24 movable segments, a nerve comes, and that one nerve goes to a trillion cells. And so you have dysfunction, lack of function, maybe 40% lack of communication because a little bit of pressure on that nerve, that's going to affect those organs. It could be one lit kidney. Maybe one of your kidneys isn't working well. It could go to your liver. Maybe your liver's not working well. Maybe it goes to your lungs, your heart, your stomach. You get stomach acid, or you get different things like allergies or asthma, or you have fatigue because your thyroid gland isn't working well, stomach problems, heartburn, dysbiosis, which means a body that a colon that isn't doing right. They call it dys, away from biosis, from it's a condition of going away from bio, which is life. Osis is a condition of biosis is the condition of life. Dys means go away from. So the term dysbiosis simply means going away from life. That's what you're diagnosed with, dysbiosis. Well, let's get it back to just biosis, the condition of living. The way we do that is we figure out what's dissing it. And that could be anything from toxic food that you're eating. It could be injury to the area. There's so many different things. But right now, in this day and age, with everything going on with the changes in the healthcare system, radical changes, there's a Maha movie coming out that I recommend you look at by RFK and a lot of different special doctors that really can see what's going on. The days of drugging symptoms till you drop are coming to an end. And so I highly recommend if you want to live a healthier, happier life, you start to get educated. Go ahead and go on to the DDS website and find out what changes are being made. Find out what is being done to clean up our environment, our food, trying to find a different type of toxic spray to put on our food rather than glyphosate. And they're having a hard time doing that because there's such a monopoly on the market that Monsanto and Bayer bought out Monsanto that makes glyphosate, which is used on all of our crops. If they took that away, there's no second choice in abundance that would be able to do the job that glyphosate's doing. So we're kind of stuck with it. So it's so important to make sure that you're eating organic foods. And it's not more expensive to eat organic foods. People think it is. Well, two things is I don't know how many people aren't spending money out somewhere. And maybe the people that lived on a fixed income is a little different story, and that's a concept of its own. But out buying a latte or a coffee or spending money where it doesn't need to be spent, and then not going the extra yard to buy healthier food, And especially junk food, stay away from that. That's all it's doing is killing you. And but what's really interesting, if you start to have a healthy diet, in fact, if you get my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, it's going to teach you how not to have snacks all day, how to start with 3 meals a day instead of 3 meals a day with 2 to 3 snacks throughout the day. The average person in the United States puts something in their mouth 17 times a day. It could be a nut, it could be a sweet water, could be a mint, it could be, real food. And every time you do that, it turns on this digestive engine where your pancreas starts to put out insulin because it wants to help make sure you don't get too much sugar in your blood. And it becomes a problem because we get too much insulin in our blood. And why too much? Because our cells are so toxic that one insulin that would normally open the door to the cell can't open the door to the cell anymore. So now you need five where you used to need one. So now you have 5 times as much insulin in your blood than you should. That's figurative. So now, pretty soon, your cells are continuing to get toxic. Your pancreas is working at its max. It's getting burnt out. It can't keep going full throttle forever. So pretty soon your medical doctor has to give you something to help. Might be something like metformin or something else, or just true insulin. But unless they are saying, let's fix a cell to get well, then I highly recommend that you go ahead and listen to what they have to say. You make sure that you're not doing anything that could hurt you medically, but start to do research so that you can take charge of your own health. Get my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, on Amazon. It's a really great guide to help you. We also have a 7-week course online that you can get. Just contact my office, info at McCollum Family Chiropractic, and take the course. That will teach you how to eliminate toxic foods, give you good shopping lists, and help you change how many meals you are eating a day and help you lose weight. We have people lose 15 to 20 pounds over a 2-month process, or 2-month time frame by doing our course. So if you are tired of, now there's a lot of these miracle drugs on the market. There's always going to be a new one, the newest miracle drug. And there's things that you inject into yourself that are supposed to bypass your whole body's whole innate intelligence. Everything your body knows, it's going to bypass it and dump fat cells into your body. It's going to burn them. Well, what's in fat cells? Toxins, fat. Toxins are stored in your fat. So all of a sudden now you have way more toxic load in your bloodstream than your body's used to because it's been stored in the fat because your liver's too plugged to get it out of the body. So it just starts stuffing it away in closets. And the closets are called fat cells. Brain is made of fat. Nerves are made of fat. So that damage is in there. So when you take one of these injections that is going to help you dump fat real quick, you run the risk of becoming very sick and turning on bad genes. So you could turn on bad diseases because when if you have a plant and you take a plant and you grow it in water, pure water, those roots will do okay. If you add a little bit of toxins in there, plant will still do okay. Add a little more toxins to it. Pretty soon there's a threshold to where the toxic water is going to kill the plant. Now, if you get that plant out of the toxic water and put it in healthy environment, say nutrition and vitamins, that plant will come back. That plant being your body, when you're dumping those stored toxins into your bloodstream, there's a little bit that your body can handle. That's why your body and your liver are trained to keep that blood level just so when it comes to toxins. It doesn't want to go over a certain amount. But when it does, because you are artificially burning fat cells too quickly without proper detoxification or absorption in the colon to get it out of the body, you're playing craps. It's just a crap game. You don't know if it's turning on bad genes. And it might be that those genes get turned on and manifest, which means show up with a symptom years later. It's not going to be that same day. I mean, you might get the runs or you might get, stomach pain or nauseous or headaches or sweating, many of the things that you would get anytime you were getting food poisoning. but it may not really show up as a dis-ease for a while because dis-eases don't show up in a day. Somebody dies of a heart attack but felt great the day before. They weren't healthy the day before. They just didn't have any symptoms yet. Somebody comes down with cancer one day. They weren't healthier the day before. The cancer just hadn't consumed that part of the body yet. Somebody comes up with an autoimmune disease where their joints are aching, or like multiple sclerosis or Parkinson's disease. Those are autoimmune diseases. It didn't show up in a day, the day the symptoms started. It had been brewing for years with the toxins in the body couldn't eliminate. So, doesn't it make sense to start to clean out the body now? So, and by the way, again, what is the number one system that controls every single one of these organs? It's the nervous system. So in the top of your neck, the very top bone in your neck is called the atlas, like Charles Atlas, right? Or Atlas holding up the world. The nerve that comes out between the skull and that one bone is controls so many things. It's called the vagus nerve, the wandering nerve, longest nerve in the body. Comes out of that area, leaves the spine completely and goes to all of the organs in your body, controls the autonomic nervous system. It's outside of the body because if you break your neck, your organs will still work. If it was inside the spine, you would die. So that also, those nerves go up to the head, and that those nerves control um, function of the brain, headaches, sleep issues, jaw issues. You have some nerves in your skull called the cranial nerves, but we'll leave those alone for now. Second nerve down, second bone in your neck, you have seven of them. So the second from the top, this nerve goes to the muscles in the neck, goes to the thyroid, some of the swallowing um, muscles, like you have your Adam's apple, that thing that goes up and down. There's muscles that attach from the ribs and your sternum, that's right at the beginning of your rib cage, to that hyoid bone, and then from the hyoid bone to the lower jaw and the ligaments in there. And that those muscles move and contract and allow you to talk like I am. They allow you to swallow, and they are the gag reflex and all those type of things. This third, fourth, fifth nerve coming out of your spine contribute to a lot of the different neck function. There's so many different muscles in your neck. You get in a car accident and you tear those muscles, but you also damage the nerves as they exit that spine. You're going to have a major problem. It may not show up right away. Most people that come in with headaches, we look at their spine and go, "When did you have your accident? About 25 years ago?" They go, "How do you know?" Because we can tell how far that spine is worn out, and it wears out predictably a certain amount based on the injury. So we can predict how old the injuries are pretty much. And then, those nerves in the fifth, the lower part of the neck, not only go to the thyroid, heart, and lungs, they go to your shoulders, elbows, and your hands. So they handle all the coordination, strength, ability to drive, any of those fine dexterities you do with your hands, those come out of the nerves of your neck. They don't just happen automatically. They have to travel that hard wire. You go into the rib cage, which is right at the base of your neck where that dowager's hump is, or the widow's hump. You start going down that spine. There's 12 vertebrae there. And as we just start at the top, they go to the lungs, heart, adrenal gland or excuse me, the gallbladder is the fourth vertebra down. So that's right at the top of between your shoulders. A lot of people get tightness or pain there, and they also have digestive issues. They could have a plugged gallbladder. They yank them out of you. Don't let them do that. We can fix them most of the time before, but most people go to the hospital thinking they're having a heart attack because they're having terrible gut pain, sweating, and shoulder pain, which is indicative of a heart attack, but it's also indicative of a gallbladder. So don't not go thinking it's a gallbladder if you think you have a heart attack. Go. Then we get down right below that, and those are the nerves that go to the stomach. People with digestive disorders, hiatal hernias, um, heartburn, gastric reflux, all these different types of things. And then it goes around to the breast tissue as well. The breasts are innervated from the upper back. Now, what happens when somebody gets breast cancer, right? Those nerves are not doing their job to communicate back and forth with the brain so the brain can find aberrant cells. And then below the stomach, we have the liver, the pancreas, the gallbladder, the spleen, and the kidneys. So as we're going from around the belly button region up and down a few inches, all those nerves that come out of that part of your back go to the things like the liver, gallbladder, spleen, pancreas, um, kidneys, all that stuff. So if you're having trouble with those organs, you might not even know it. It might just feel sluggish and you get a chronic spasm in the low back. You call the small of the back, right where the last rib is going down to the mid-lobe lumbar spine. And then, of course, the nerves that come out of your last three lumbar vertebrae toward where your tailbone is, those nerves go all the way down the leg, make up the sciatic nerve, but also the not just the sciatic nerve, all of the nerves of sensation and muscle position, limb position. And not only that, do they go past the joints to the toes? And we talked about numbness, tingling, and all that kind of stuff. This people get diagnosed with something called peripheral neuropathy, which just means the nerve, you have a pathology of the nerves in the periphery. That's all. It's not a diagnosis of a disease. It's a diagnosis of recognizing a condition, which is the nerves in your feet aren't working. Peripheral neuropathy. Opathy means pathology of the nerves of the feet. You can fix it most of the time. We have a $99 special to come in and find out if we can help you. And we've helped lots of people. Call 831-459-9990 or info at McCollum Family Chiropractic or pick up this week's Good Times. We have stuff in there on that. Okay. Um, so, then we have those nerves in the low back also go to the bladder. How many people have problems with continence, incontinence? They leak, they have to go to bed and, they get up too many times. The prostate in men is in that area, the large intestine, the rectum, the reproductive organs, and all of that stuff comes right out of the lower back. And they also wrap around and they go to the reproductive organs for both men and women. So, there's 31 nerves going to all these different cells and organs. Why would you neglect finding out if they work right? You might not have a back problem. People come in, I don't have a back problem. You have a health problem, or you may not, but you want to be as healthy as you can, right? So don't wait for a symptom to show up. There's a sign in my exam room that says the six most common words I hear, which is, I thought it would go away. Well, if you have a symptom, don't wait for it to go away because it could go away, but underlying could be a much greater problem that you're letting brew. And as in I'm now in my 70s, I realize how important life and health is. I've got a finite time on the planet now, and maybe a lot of you feel that way too. So, wouldn't you rather live it healthy as you can? It's worth the investment because what is the cost down the road of ill health? How many of you know people my age, older or younger, with ill health? What is the cost of that? It's 10 times more than getting it fixed. There might be an upfront cost to get your body fixed, but compared to what? Suffering, developing a disease prematurely in your life that's going to steal your life away, your happiness. Believe me, as I said, I started the show, I threw my back out working at my office. And you know, that's what threw me for a loop. But I'm better real quickly because I get adjusted once or twice a week routinely. It doesn't mean I'm not going to do stupid stuff or lift incorrectly or have something slip when I'm lifting, is what happened. Lifting something that weighed about 60 pounds and it slipped, and that pulled my back the wrong way and pulled my back out. I'm here doing the show today. It happened Thursday. But, and it's getting better very rapidly because I've had two of the SoftWave treatments, the laser treatment, two adjustments in the last 2 days. And, I'm feeling good and I know my body will heal. So don't neglect those symptoms. In fact, if you feel great, come in and get the $39 set of x-rays. That's a good baseline. if something does happen, at least we've got a record of what good looks like. I have oftentimes people, I had a patient come in the other day. We saw her in 2020, and now it's 2026, and she's having an issue now. So I was able to pull up her x-rays of 2020, and we didn't need to do much then. And we can see what happened in the last 6 years. And it gives us an idea of how quickly her body is progressing. And she's in her mid 70s. So if you've been into my office and it's been a while and you want to come in and get a set of x-rays to see how you're doing, call up and get the $37 set of x-rays. There's no obligation to do anything beyond that, but it is good to know where you're at. And then, if you do have something going on with joints, feet, numbness, tingling, knee problems, hip problems, low back, shoulders, um, upper back, any of those areas, then come do the $49 TRT. Now, if you've just done one, that's one thing. But if you haven't had one in 3 months, come in at 49 bucks and we'll revisit the area and do one of our specials on you, a mapping session. The machines that I use, not only are we going to do the TRT, which a lot of people offer in town, we're going to do the red light therapy session on top of that with all 3 lights. That's huge. We'll also put you on the vibe plate ahead of time. So you'll have 3 services for that $49 to find out whether we can help you. So it's a pretty amazing offer. Nobody else in town has what we have, and nobody else in town has done as many as we've done because we've done this since 2019 when I got the first machine in Northern California. In fact, there was only 200 in the country when I got mine. My machine is number 403. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum. Come see me, 831-459-9990. Info at McCollum Family Chiropractic. Nice talking at you. We'll see you next week. Thank you.